From the conqueror of continents to the king of the school run. This is the story of how Land Rover sold its soul and how another company decided to buy it back. Before Land Rover was a symbol of luxury, the name meant something else entirely: endurance. It was born in 1948 from a simple sketch in the sand on a Welsh beach. In a world clawing its way back from war, steel was tight, but aluminium was plentiful. The result was a boxy, no-frills vehicle built for farmers and soldiers. Its job wasn't to impress the neighbours, its job was to work. This whole philosophy of rugged simplicity was the brand's backbone for 50 years. The Series 1, 2, 3, early defenders and early discoveries were all built for one reason: to be unbelievably durable and capable off-road. They weren't cars, they were tools. The kind of tools you could fix with a basic set of wrenches in absolute middle of nowhere. That reputation made them the go-to vehicle for explorers, scientists and aid groups all over the world. And then came the ultimate test, the event that forged the Land Rover legend, the Camel Trophy. This brutal, multi-week expedition threw teams of amateur adventurers into some of the most punishing places on Earth. Professional drivers weren't allowed. You had to be a genuine amateur to compete. While the very first event was in 1980, using Ford Jeep CJ6s. From 1981 until its official involvement ended in 1998, Land Rover supplied the vehicles which gave them the greatest platform possible to advertise how capable these rigs truly were. Year after year, specially prepped Land Rovers, from the classic Series 3, Defender to the Discovery and the Range Rovers, were painted in an iconic sand-glow yellow and sent into the wild. They navigated the jungles of Borneo, the rainforests of the Amazon, the vast plains of Mongolia. The Camel Trophy was never a race for speed. It was a war against the wild, a battle of human and machine endurance that involved river crossings, makeshift bridges, ploughing through seas of mud. In some cases, the convoys would advance only 800 metres in a 24-hour period. Beyond the adventure, the event had a humanitarian angle, with the teams building environmental monitoring stations or reopening roads for local communities. And over again, the Land Rovers just endured. This was the brand's soul, forged in the toughest conditions imaginable. A soul built on capability, not comfort. The first real sign things were changing came back in the 1970s with the launch of the Range Rover. But here's the thing, it was never meant to be a luxury vehicle. Its interior was so basic you could hose it down. But it offered something totally new, with the insane off-road chops of a Land Rover, with the on-road comfort of a regular car, thanks to the V8 and coil-sprung suspension. And then something Land Rover didn't quite expect. People didn't just see this as a more comfortable farm truck, they saw it as a status symbol. Wealthy people who had no intention of ever crossing a jungle, let alone taking it onto a gravel track, started buying them. Land Rover had just invented the luxury SUV. Through the 80s and 90s, the company started to lean into this new identity. With the launch of Discovery in 1989 that was aimed at families who wanted practical vehicles that could still handle a bit of adventure, pulling Land Rover even further into the mainstream. With every new model, the vehicle got fancier. Air suspension, anti-lock brakes, complex electronics became the normal. The company that was built on tough, simple machines was now chasing a completely different customer, one who cared more about prestige than payload. In 2016, after 67 years, the original Land Rover Defender, the direct descendant of the very first 1948 model, went out of production. It was the end of an era. And then, in 2019, the official replacement, the new Land Rover, arrived. It was a stranger to its own name. The simple, tough-as-nail ladder frame chassis was gone, replaced by a complex unibody you'd find in pretty much any modern car. The solid axles, famous for their strength and improved off-road capability, were swapped out for independent air suspension, and the bare-bones interior replaced by a cabin full of touchscreens and luxury materials. Land Rover argued it built a superior vehicle, but in doing so, it abandoned the philosophy defined by the original. The new Defender was no longer a simple tool. It was a sophisticated, expensive, complicated piece of luxury tech, plagued by the brand's reputation for poor reliability. The message was clear. The future was luxury. The old soul of rugged simplicity was dead and buried, and in a strange twist, cementing the idea its heritage is now a luxury good, the super-rich Land Rover now introduced a new version Classic Defender with a starting price of £228,000, ironically priced at the average cost of a house where the first Land Rover was conceived, a far call from the £30,000 basic models in 2015. If you're passionate about legendary 4x4s and the true spirit of adventure, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've got more stories about the world's toughest vehicles on the way. Now, what happens when a brand leaves a hole this big? Someone else steps in to fill it. Meet British billionaire, philanthropist, adventurer, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. He was such a fan of the original Defender that when the production ended, he approached Land Rover, offered to buy the rights and tooling to keep making it himself, but Land Rover refused. So, Ratcliffe did something extraordinary. After finding the very first production Land Rover from 1948, chassis number 1, rotting in a barn, he bought it. He then commissioned a painstaking 2-year restoration with one rule: keep it as original as possible, preserving its history and character. To prove a point, he then took this 70-year-old vehicle on a massive adventure across the Gobi Desert, a fitting tribute to the spirit he felt Land Rover had lost. This was the perfect launch for his own vehicle, the Ineos Grenadier. Used as support vehicles for this insane expedition, the whole idea was born in a London pub where Ratcliffe and his friends lamented the death of the original Defender. He saw a massive gap in the market for a real, no-nonsense 4x4 and decided to build one himself. This project was a direct shot at Land Rover's pivot to luxury. The whole point was to create a spiritual successor to the original Defender, built on principles Land Rover had abandoned. The Grenadier was a proper box-section ladder frame chassis, heavy-duty beam axles, and a focus on mechanics over electronics. The inside has physical switches that you can use with gloves, and the floors you can hose out. It is, in almost every way, the anti-Defender. Where the new Defender uses computers and air suspension, the Grenadier uses old-school engineering for the community that felt left behind. The Grenadier isn't just another vehicle, it's a statement. It's the proof of the soul of the rugged adventurer is still alive. It just wears a different badge now. Land Rover's transformation from a humble workhorse to a global luxury brand wasn't some accident, but in chasing new customers, they turned their back on the people who built them. They left behind the farmers, the explorers, the aid workers, and the hardcore fans who created the brand's legendary reputation in the first place. They chose profit over reliability, luxury over legacy, and they traded their soul for market share. So, for the adventurers and the professionals, the people who still need a tool, not a toy, does the future belong to challengers like Ineos? Let us know what you think in the comments.